This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search from my site. It is my purpose to record this message on a Saturday after a bad week for President Trump. For my own records, when Trump finally takes his pass through the White House, either by a self-inflicted fall of his own first election, preferably by a fall in the second election, or the end of his second term. And the notion that Michael Moore puts forward that Trump is going to turn this country into a dictatorship and we're going to be stuck with Trump is looking less likely as of the events of this week. So in other words, this video is something for me to reference to remind people that Trump's fall, whether soon, at the end of his first term or at the end of his second term, was self-inflicted. This week was unquestionably a bad week for Trump. The WikiLeaks and this ally to Roger Stone was a damaging, revealing piece of news. And Trump's response to it was also unproductive. And then this other thing about Michael Cohen admitted he lied to Congress. So listeners, please realize when Trump takes his time through history and becomes a former president, his supporters, who are numerous and ardent, will forever claim he was destroyed by the deep state, destroyed by Washington, and they are unquestionably partially correct. There are people that hate him, and even if he does anything good, they will still hate him. And I am not one who hates him. I hate him as a president. He was kind of a fun celebrity. He made New York entertaining, and he was the subject of a lot of my blogs when he seemed harmless. But now he is not harmless, and I want to see him go. So after that point, his supporters will forever claim that he was destroyed by forces outside of him. And again, they are partially correct. But this week was a demonstration, an expose of Trump's self-inflicted wounds. So why is this week any different? It's not different in that it's the same pattern of Trump running his mouth off about very serious topics without engaging his brain. That's a habit of Trump that makes him, that's why he's the president. His failure to restrain himself on Twitter and verbally in all sorts of situations, and his sexually predatory behavior has all made him the person he is, and it's all made him the president. And yes, I am claiming that his sexual predatory behavior is part of what put him in the White House, as disgusting as it is. So it's his failure to restrain himself that got him elected, and it's a failure to restrain himself that's going to create self-inflicted wounds. And I believe this week features some in a way that is memorable. So Stephen Colbert, for the purpose of comedy, highlighted chopper talk. Now, Stephen is the only one who seems to be using that phrase, but Trump lately has this habit of the only news that gets some Q&A with the president is when he's leaving on the Air Force chopper, and it's making a lot of noise in the background. So Stephen Colbert, as far as I can tell, he's the first one to use the phrase chopper talk. And Trump this week demonstrated his self-inflicted wounds during chopper talk. So it goes something like this. Michael Cohen alleges that talks about the Trump-Moscow Tower continued well into the presidency. So to note Trump in history, during the campaign, Trump many times denied that this was happening. And in addition to that, conceded, again, this is a moment of history, in addition, conceded that if it was going on, it would be a conflict of interest. So fast forward to this week, Chopper Talk. Trump begins during Chopper Talk, Michael Cohen is a liar. Now he says it in all the colorful, entertaining ways that the president is known for, and features how he's a weak person and he's a liar. Well, in this occasion, for Cohen to be called a liar, that means what his assertion is this week is a lie. That means the reverse. It is the reverse of a truth. Now, listeners, it sounds complicated, but it's not. Michael Cohen says talks on Moscow continued during the campaign. Trump concedes that's a bad thing. Michael Cohen says a bad thing happened. Trump says Michael Cohen is a liar. Therefore, the reverse of what Michael Cohen is saying is true. It's simple logic. Cohen says a bad thing happened. Trump says he's a liar. Therefore, the reverse of that bad thing is what Trump is claiming is true. So if Cohen's bad thing that he claimed is happening, talks for the Moscow Tower continued well into the candidacy, Trump says he's a liar, that means those talks did not continue. Okay, so that's how Trump starts out Chopper Talk, by saying those talks for the Moscow Tower, which he conceded is a bad thing. He said it's a conflict of interest. He said it himself during the campaign. He starts Chopper Talk by saying they didn't happen. I'm denying that they happened. So I have done both, tipped by Stephen Colbert. Stephen does this highly edited stuff for the purpose of entertainment and comedy. So even though it brings my attention to something, I try not to run away with that being the meaning. So after that, and so in other words, listeners, I have listened to the whole Chopper Talk. So then Trump goes ahead and basically, listeners, don't take my word on this. If I've kept your attention this far, please don't stop by listening to me. Listen to Chopper Talk yourself. Make note of the date of this video and go find the Chopper Talk. Try to listen to the whole thing. It's a rant, it's long, and he says a lot of stupid things, things he should come learn to regret. He then says, basically, that we did continue to work on that project. Everybody knew about it. It was in all the papers. Well, it's become clear that it wasn't, and at the time of the candidacy, he denied that it happened. So now all of a sudden he transitions from Michael's lying, therefore the truth is that the talks about this tower terminated, and if they didn't terminate, that's a conflict of interest. And yes, I, as president, admitted that not terminating those talks was a problem. So he goes from Chopper Talk portion A, Cohen is a liar, to Chopper Talk portion B, this project was going on, everybody knew about it, it was in the papers. It was in all the papers, it wasn't a secret. Well, that's known to be false because he himself denied that it was happening in many interviews during the campaign, and it wasn't in the papers. There's been some research to go back to find out when it did become public, and it wasn't. It was after he was already a president-elect. So again, Chopper Talk Section A, Cohen is a liar. In other words, the fact that these talks continued, as Cohen now says is true, is not true. Therefore, the opposite is true. That means the talks discontinued. Chopper Talk portion A. Chopper Talk portion B, it was in the papers. Everybody knew about it. So in other words, Chopper Talk portion B is a confession. And listeners, that's the part you really have to hear yourself. Please, if I've kept your attention this long, don't stop with this video. Go to Chopper Talk. Listen to Chopper Talk portion B. Trump says it's a confession. There's no other way to interpret his words than he's saying, yeah, it was in the papers. Everyone knew about it. What's the big deal? Who cares? Now, the Chopper Talk portion C is the suicidal knife, where he says, and if it did happen, I was candidate, and candidates can do whatever they want. It doesn't matter. So really, listeners, if you've kept your attention this far, go to Chopper Talk. Do some study if you have to. Find Colbert if that helps. But basically, here's my premise. Trump is taken down by forces outside of him. He's got enemies in the White House. Got a lot of enemies. Got a lot of people trying to drain me of my energies. Yes, Trump has them, and allegedly some of them are in the White House, according to a lot of people, including recently Corey Lewandowski. So Trump has a lot of enemies. He's brought down by evil forces. Even if you're a supporter of Trump, you think your man has been brought down by evil forces. Got a lot of enemies. These Trump supporters are not going to go away quietly. They're going to continue to assert that their man was taken down by evil forces. Got a lot of enemies. Trump had enemies because he was a great guy. And everyone who didn't like Trump that's a foolish notion. Though it's partially true, Trump does have a lot of enemies, and some of these enemies have been trying to perpetrate his White House, and it appears they're doing it successfully. But it's not without the president's self-inflicted wounds. And this week highlights those wounds. So again, Chopper Talk A, Michael Cohen's a liar. Therefore, by saying that, he's denying that these talks continued. Chopper Talk portion A, Trump denies that the talks continued. Chopper Talk portion B, Trump concedes, he confesses that they did continue. And then Chopper Talk portion C, he says it doesn't matter, I can do whatever I want when I'm president. This is, listeners, I'm making this video for my own benefit. I want to use this on occasions that once these cards play out and Trump is former president, unlike Michael Moore suggested, is going to become the nation's first dictator. Trump's presidency will end in version A, version B, or version C. Now, I did not include assassination. Version A, he gets ousted. Version B, he doesn't win the second term. Version C, he plays the end of his second term. Those are the three, excluding assassination or an illness or a death. Those are the three. If you add the illness, death, and assassination, those are four mechanisms to get Trump out of the White House. There's going to be a point in history where Trump becomes a former president, and his supporters will always say he was taken down by evil forces. Got a lot of enemies. This video is for my use to remind those people, yes, you're right. He had a lot of enemies, and yes, Washington wanted to spit him out like a foreign body. This is partially true, but this week and Chopper Talk right in the same segment. Portion A, it didn't happen. Portion B, it did happen. Portion C, it doesn't matter if it happened. It's a showcasing a single moment in time where if Trump's presidency ends at the hands of his own crimes with the Mueller investigation, Russian collusion, then this is going to be a significant moment where Trump says right there on camera in the same moment, Trump sabotages his own presidency. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American, living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao!